If it didn't start with you, then where did it start? Mark Wolin, in his book, and this is another book review because I've been listening to a lot of books this year, but in his book, It Didn't Start With You, he talks about how potentially the things that we're experiencing in our lives may have actually started with the generations before us. It's possible that they did something or experienced something that now is impacting you as a result of how it was handed from them down to you. And he makes some really good points. Like, there's actually some scientific evidence that shows that when someone experiences something, that does genetically get handed from one generation to the next, and it can predispose them to things like being highly stressed or anxious or depressed or experiencing PTSD or many number of things. And one of the things I love about this book is that he explores, okay, like, let's say you start to see this. Here are some questions that you can ask yourself to kind of process through this so that if it is negatively impacting you, you can work through that. Like, that's really cool. I think that's really valuable. One thing I will say about this book is that, as with many self-help books, there's an element of it that feels a little bit anecdotal. Because one of the things that he pushes a lot is that in order to be healthy, you should heal your relationship with your parents. And he presents that kind of as this blanket statement, like everybody should do this. And I think it's a little bit more nuanced than that. Like, I don't actually think it's always healthy, particularly for therapists, to push that agenda, because it's not always healthy and it's not so black and white. But in general, I would argue that this book has a lot of really valuable things it can offer. And the framework that he gives for, like, here are questions to ask, how to work through these things, that's also really cool. So if you're into this kind of thing, if you're into, like, looking at intergenerational trauma, this is a really interesting book that I would recommend.